I woke up in the hospital after a workplace accident and my smartwatch recorded my supervisor saying make sure nobody finds the logbook. I opened my eyes to fluorescent lights and the smell of disinfectant. My manager Derek was sitting in the chair next to the bed, looking concerned in a way that felt performative. You had a bad fall in the loading dock. Hit your head pretty hard. But I was nowhere near the loading dock that day. I was in the office going through old filing cabinets. The doctor came in and explained I had a severe concussion and some bruising on my ribs. Derek kept talking over him. Just a freak accident. These things happen in warehouses. After Derek left, I checked my smartwatch. The health app had been running all day tracking my heart rate. I scrolled back to the timestamp when the accident supposedly happened. My heart rate spiked at 2:47 in the afternoon, then dropped dramatically. But there was also an audio file. The watch had voice activation turned on for fitness tracking and it captured everything. I put in my earbuds and hit play. The recording started with me talking to Marcus, the new guy who started 3 weeks ago. Marcus, do you know anything about a second set of books? My voice sounded normal and clear. What second set? He asked. I found a logbook in the back filing cabinet. It has different numbers than what we submitted to the safety inspection last month. Before Marcus could respond, I heard footsteps. Heavy boots on concrete. Derek's voice cut in. What are you doing back here? Just organizing old files like you asked. I said. The storage audit. Derek's tone changed immediately. What's that in your hand? A logbook from 2024. It has equipment maintenance records that don't match our official reports. Give me that. No. We need to report this to corporate. There's a long pause. Then Derek spoke again, but quieter. Colder. You don't understand what you're looking at. This has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with me. I work here. If we falsified safety records and someone got hurt because of it. Nobody got hurt. Marcus interrupted. What about Chris? What about Chris? Derek repeated. Chris died on that press 6 months ago. You told everyone the machine was inspected and certified. This logbook says it was 3 months overdue for maintenance. More silence. Then Derek spoke to someone else. I need you to come to the north storage room right now. Bring the first aid kit. My recorded voice continued. Who are you calling? Sit down. You're not feeling well. I'm fine. No. You're really not. There was a scuffling sound. A crash. Then my voice, panicked. What did you just? Thud. That was my body hitting the concrete floor. Everything after that was muffled and distant. I could hear voices but couldn't make out full sentences. Then Derek spoke clearly. She hit her head on the shelving unit. Terrible accident. We need to call someone. That was Marcus, sounding scared. Nobody's calling anyone yet. We need to think this through. Think what through? She's unconscious. Derek got sharp. Exactly. She's unconscious and doesn't remember anything. When she wakes up, this was a simple workplace accident. Loading dock. Slipped on a wet floor. But she wasn't in the loading dock. She is now. Help me move her. Dragging sounds. Grunting. Marcus protesting. This is insane. We should call an ambulance. We will. After we get the story straight. Derek's voice faded as they moved away from wherever my watch was. I heard doors opening. An engine starting. Then 30 minutes of silence before sirens and paramedics arrived. I took the smartwatch directly to the police station. The officer at the front desk looked skeptical until I played the recording. He called over a detective named Silva who listened to the whole thing twice. She made 3 phone calls while I sat there, then looked at me seriously. We're sending officers to your workplace right now. Don't contact anyone from your job. Don't go back there. Just go home and wait for my call. The next morning, Detective Silva called at 6 o'clock. We executed a search warrant at your workplace an hour ago. Derek and 2 other managers were arrested. We found the logbook you mentioned hidden in Derek's office safe. It shows a pattern of skipped maintenance inspections going back 18 months. The press that killed Chris was flagged as broken in the real logbook but marked as functional in the official records submitted to regulators. Chris's widow, Amanda, was the one who connected everything. She had been asking questions for months about why the company settled her wrongful death lawsuit so quickly. They paid her a large sum with an NDA attached, which made her suspicious. When Detective Silva contacted her about the logbook evidence, Amanda immediately hired a lawyer to void the settlement agreement based on fraud. The preliminary hearing happened a week later. Derek's attorney argued the recording was inadmissible because I didn't consent to being recorded. The judge shut that down fast. The watch's voice activation was for health tracking purposes, not surveillance. Everything captured was incidental and admissible. Derek's bail was set at $500,000. 3 days after the hearing, Marcus showed up at my apartment. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, hands shaking. He kept glancing over his shoulder at the parking lot. I need to tell you something, but they're watching me. Who's watching you? The company. Derek's family has connections to the ownership group. They've been threatening my work visa. Marcus was from the Philippines on a skilled worker visa sponsored by the company. If they revoked sponsorship, he'd have to leave the country within 60 days. He handed me a folded piece of paper and left without saying anything else. I unfolded it in my kitchen. It just said, check the security camera footage from the day Chris died. I still have access to the archived files. Login is my employee number. Password is the machine ID from the logbook. I called Detective Silva immediately. She told me not to access the files myself because it might create legal issues with chain of custody. She'd get a warrant for the security footage. 2 days later, she called back. The footage from the day Chris died was deleted from the main server. But Marcus was right about the archived backup. We recovered it. The video showed Chris working on the press when it suddenly activated during what should have been a locked-out maintenance mode. He tried to pull his arm free but the machine kept cycling. It took 4 minutes for anyone to reach the emergency shutoff. Chris bled out before the ambulance arrived. The timestamp on the footage was 10:23 in the morning. The official accident report claimed the incident happened at 2:15 in the afternoon and that emergency response was immediate. Detective Silva explained why the time mattered. At 10:23, there were 5 managers on site including Derek. At 2:15, only 2 managers were present. The false timeline protected multiple people who failed to respond during the actual emergency. The company's official story was that Chris died quickly and they did everything possible. The real footage showed he suffered for minutes while managers figured out how to contain the liability. Amanda's lawyer subpoenaed the footage for the wrongful death case. Seeing how long Chris was conscious and calling for help while nobody came destroyed Amanda completely. She filed an emergency motion to reopen the criminal investigation for negligent homicide and obstruction of justice. That same week, I started getting strange messages. An unknown number texted saying I should think carefully about my future employment prospects. A former coworker I barely knew called to tell me the company was planning to countersue for defamation. Someone left a note on my car windshield that just said, "Accidents happen all the time." I documented everything and sent it to Detective Silva. She forwarded it all to the prosecutor, a woman named Chen who was building the criminal case. Chen called me directly and explained that witness intimidation would only make things worse for the defendants. She told me to keep reporting every incident and to consider getting a restraining order. The company tried to fight back through the media. They issued a press release claiming I was a disgruntled employee who had been written up multiple times for safety violations. Completely false. I requested my personnel file through my lawyer and it showed 0 disciplinary actions in 3 years of employment. Chen added the fraudulent press release to her evidence of obstruction. Marcus contacted me again through an encrypted messaging app. He'd been placed on administrative leave and his visa sponsor status was in jeopardy. But he'd made copies of other documents before they locked him out of the system. Incident reports that were never filed. Equipment inspection records that were backdated. A spreadsheet tracking which machines were actually broken versus which ones were reported as functional. He met me in a public park and handed over a USB drive. His hands were shaking worse than before. They told me if I cooperate with the investigation, they'll revoke my sponsorship and make sure I never work in this country again. But I can't let what happened to Chris happen to someone else. Marcus had worked in factory safety in the Philippines before coming here. He knew what proper protocols looked like. He'd been raising concerns internally since his second week and was told repeatedly to stop making trouble. Detective Silva brought in an immigration attorney named Patel who specialized in visa holders facing retaliation. Patel filed an emergency motion for protected witness status that would prevent the company from touching Marcus's visa during the criminal proceedings. The judge granted it within 48 hours. The documents on Marcus's USB drive showed the pattern went back 3 years. At least 7 machines were operating with expired safety certifications. Multiple employees had filed internal complaints about unsafe conditions. Every complaint was marked as resolved in the system, but the actual issues were never fixed. The company just changed the status in the database to close out the tickets. Chen filed expanded charges against Derek and 4 other managers for criminal conspiracy to commit fraud and reckless endangerment. The company itself faced corporate charges that could result in millions in fines and mandatory oversight. I started seeing a therapist named Dr. Okonkwo who worked with workplace trauma cases. She helped me process the fact that people I worked with every day had dragged my unconscious body across a warehouse and staged an accident scene. The betrayal felt surreal. These were people I'd eaten lunch with, made small talk about their kids and weekend plans. Dr. Okonkwo taught me grounding techniques for when I felt overwhelmed. She explained that traumatic events create fragmented memories that need to be processed differently than normal experiences. We worked on separating what I knew from what I feared and what I could control from what I couldn't. Amanda reached out through her lawyer asking if we could meet. We sat in a coffee shop and she told me about Chris, how he'd been worried about safety conditions for months, how he'd told her the machines seemed poorly maintained, how he'd asked her what to do if his boss ignored his concerns. She'd told him to document everything and go to HR if necessary. Now she wished she'd told him to quit immediately. We cried together in that coffee shop booth. Two people connected by the same corporate negligence that prioritized profit over human life. Amanda told me Chris's daughter was 7 years old and still had nightmares about the day the school counselor came to tell her that daddy was hurt. The company's settlement money couldn't buy back her childhood or give her father back. The trial was set for 4 months out. Chen explained it would be a complex case with extensive evidence. The company hired a major law firm that specialized in corporate defense. They'd tried to paint this as unfortunate accidents compounded by administrative errors, not criminal conduct. Meanwhile, OSHA launched its own investigation based on the evidence that had come out. They interviewed current and former employees, reviewed maintenance records, and conducted surprise inspections of equipment. Their preliminary report identified 47 safety violations, 12 of which were classified as serious and willful. The company tried to settle with Amanda before trial. They offered triple the original settlement amount. She refused. Her lawyer issued a statement saying no amount of money would make up for the fact that they'd lied about how long Chris suffered. The case would go to trial so the full truth could be public record. 2 months before trial, Derek's lawyer called Chen with a plea offer. Derek would testify against the upper management and ownership group in exchange for reduced charges. He claimed he'd been pressured to falsify records by executives who threatened his job security. Chen rejected it. Derek was the one who orchestrated covering up my assault. He didn't get to play victim now. The night before trial started, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the smartwatch audio in my mind. The sound of my body hitting the concrete. Derek's cold calculation about how to spin the story. Marcus's fear when he realized what was happening. I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning and wrote out everything I remembered about working at that company. The small comments about cutting corners. The pressure to process shipments faster than safety protocols allowed. The way management praised speed over caution. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I testified on day 4. The defense attorney tried to make me seem unreliable, pointing out my head injury and concussion. But Chen had the smartwatch recording and the medical records showing the injury pattern didn't match a simple fall. The jury heard my voice on that recording. They heard Derek ordering Marcus to move my unconscious body. They heard him say to make sure nobody found the logbook. Marcus testified next. He explained the visa threats and the pressure to stay quiet. He walked the jury through the maintenance records, showing where numbers had been changed and dates had been backdated. His technical knowledge as a safety specialist made it impossible for the defense to claim these were honest mistakes. Amanda testified about the wrongful death settlement and the NDA. She explained how the company's lawyer had pressured her to sign quickly, implying that if she fought them, she'd get nothing. She'd been a grieving widow with a child to support and mounting bills. She signed because she felt like she had no choice. Then she found out they'd lied about every detail of how her husband died. The OSHA investigator testified about the violations. The forensic accountant testified about the financial incentives for skipping maintenance. Every inspection cost money and caused downtime. By falsifying records, the company saved approximately $340,000 annually while keeping production running at full capacity. The jury deliberated for 2 days. They found Derek guilty on all counts including assault, conspiracy to commit fraud, and obstruction of justice. 3 other managers were convicted. The company itself was found guilty of corporate manslaughter and willful safety violations. Sentencing happened a month later. Derek got 6 years in prison. The other managers got between 2 and 4 years each. The company was fined $8 million and placed under mandatory federal safety oversight for 5 years. Amanda's civil case settled a week after the criminal verdict. The company paid an undisclosed amount that her lawyer described as substantial. More importantly, the settlement included no NDA. Amanda could talk publicly about what happened. She started a foundation in Chris's name focused on workplace safety advocacy. Marcus got permanent residency status through a special provision for witnesses who assist in prosecuting serious crimes. He got a job with OSHA as a safety inspector, using his experience to prevent other companies from doing what happened to him. I left the industry entirely. Took a job in a completely different field where the biggest risk is carpal tunnel from typing. I still see Dr. Okonkwo monthly. The nightmares are less frequent now. I don't jump every time I hear heavy footsteps on hard floors. Sometimes I think about that smartwatch recording. How a device meant to track my morning runs accidentally captured evidence of corporate negligence that killed a man and almost killed me. How technology designed for fitness data became the key to bringing down an entire conspiracy. Chris's daughter is 9 now. Amanda sends me photos occasionally. Birthday parties, school plays, soccer games. A childhood that continues because her mother fought for the truth instead of accepting the company's money in silence. Those photos remind me why going through the trial was worth it. Some things matter more than moving on quietly. Justice matters. Truth matters. Making sure it doesn't happen to someone else matters most of all.